FeiyuTech just launched their Kickstarter for their Pocket 3 Stabilised Camera, and all pricing information is in the description, so I've dropped that in there. And before I go into showing you the footage, I'll tell you a little bit about the camera, but if you want to skip on through, then there are chapters in the description and below. So the Feiyu Pocket 3 is a 3-axis stabilised camera. It weighs about 86 grams. It has a 1/2.5 inch CMOS sensor with an aperture of f2. Its equivalent focal length is 16mm, but it has 3 fields of view, which is narrow, wide and ultra wide. It has an ISO range of 100 to 3200 and it shoots up to 4K 60, 2.7K 60 and 1080 120. It has 3 video modes, so it has video, time-lapse and slow motion. And at 4K 60 it has a max bitrate of 120 megabits per second. It has a 0.42 inch OLED display, and if you're shooting at 1080 60 you'll get about an hour's worth of filming, but if you're shooting at 4K 30 it's more like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So in the box you get the Feiyu Pocket 3, an expansion base, a tripod, a protective cover, a USB-C cable, a wristband, a portable bag and the manual. So this is all just the camera, and you can either get the camera on its own or you can get it with a bundle which gives you the handle as well. If you didn't get the bundle with the handle though, you can operate the camera with the buttons actually on the camera, and you can also attach your phone and use the smartphone app as well. But if you were to get the bundle with the handle, then you can obviously control the camera with that handle, and you can either attach it or you can use it wirelessly. So in terms of the functionality of the handle, you've got a joystick so that you can pan and tilt with the gimbal. You've got a gimbal modes button so that you can choose which gimbal mode you want to be in, whether you want to do pan, tilt, follow, FPV, that kind of thing. There's obviously the shutter button, and you've got the zoom button which you can slide up or down to zoom in and out. And as I said, the handle gives you full functionality to control the camera whether it's attached or it's detached, used wirelessly. So in the bag you get the handle itself, the remote, and a USB-C cable, a wrist strap, a bag and the manual. So in terms of video quality, it is pretty decent. The only thing that I will say is because it's got such a small sensor, you really do need a lot of light. So you need to be filming on a really decent day where there's a lot of sun or there's just a lot of light, so that you're getting the best image quality possible because of that small sensor and that not so wide aperture. And what I will say though is if you're shooting on an overcast day, or if you're like going through trees, like if you're going in a forest or anything like that, then the quality of the image isn't going to be very good. So yeah, really make sure that you are filming on a decent day where there's lots of light. It's definitely not a camera for shooting at night, so if you have any intentions of filming in really low light or at night, this is not the camera to do that with. There's also no HDR mode, but there is a log profile. So as I mentioned earlier, you do have 3 fields of view. You've got narrow, wide and super view, but you're better off not shooting in narrow because it is just a cropped in frame. So wide is going to give you a good image, and ultra wide or super wide is also going to give you a really good image. There's also a zoom feature, but honestly I'd probably just do this in post anyway, because as soon as you're zoomed all the way in, the quality of the footage doesn't look great, so you're better off just doing this in post if you want to. It's a bit windy today, but I wanted to do an audio test to hear what the audio sounds like in the wind. I'm imagining it's not going to sound very good because the wind is just hitting the microphones. And so this is what the audio sounds like. It's not at all windy today, so there's not even any light breezes. So hopefully it should be as clear as it can be. And yeah, just thought I'd let you guys hear what it sounds like when it's not really windy, with loads of wind hitting the mics. Lots of birds. So despite the small sensor and the not so wide aperture, there are quite a few things that I do like about this camera. The first thing is the fact that it's so modular, and you can use the camera on its own, you can use it with the handle, you can use it with your phone, you've got an extension rod that you can attach to it, which you can also attach to the handle, and you've got the little tripod feet as well. So there's just so many different combinations that you can use for this camera, and it just makes it really easy for you to just choose how you want to film with it and just have lots of filming situations and scenarios that you can use it in. And like I said, you can choose to use all the pieces together or just not use them at all. And this is where having just the camera with a magnet is awesome, because you can just mount it, say for example, on your car. You don't need any of the mounts. All you need to do is just detach the camera from the handle or one of the other accessories that you put it on, and there's a magnet in the camera itself, so you can just put it onto your car and you're good to go. And it is actually really stabilized. The magnetic mount is really secure, so it didn't feel like it was going to come off. It really sticks there really good. And so having this where you can just mount it in anywhere where it's magnetized is just awesome. I also like the fact that you've got the wireless remote and you don't need an app. So if you were in the car, for example, and you mounted it on your car, or you were outside somewhere and you had to go a little bit further away, then you can just mount the camera and then have the wireless remote, and you don't need your phone. You can just use the wireless remote to control the camera. I also like the fact that they separated the zoom button and the gimbal control stick, because having to go into a menu and then switch between whether you want to use the control stick as a zoom or as a control stick is a little bit annoying. So having two separate buttons is really useful. It's not a big deal, but actually when you come to film something, it really does make a difference. And also the fact that the camera part is just so discreet and so small. So if you did just want to have it on its extension rod, it's not going to bring attention to you at all. It's not going to draw attention to you. So yeah, I like the fact that it's really that small. So there is another feature on the camera, and it's face tracking. I tried this out and it works for the most part, but it's not as responsive as I would have liked. So it doesn't always pick up your movement. So if you move quite quickly or you move out of the frame, it doesn't pick you back up again. So that's just something to note. It works, but it doesn't work as good as it could possibly work. I haven't tried it in the mobile app, and I've got a separate video about using the camera with that app, so subscribe if you want to see that video. And the other thing that I noticed is the fact that it's quite slow to power on. I tried this against other cameras of its type, and it was about 2 seconds behind. So if you want to capture anything which is happening really quickly, you're going to have that delay of the camera just taking a little while to turn on. And also when you press the record button, there is a slight delay before it engages the recording. So don't start talking straight away, because you'll miss that first bit of your audio and you'll miss the first bit of the action. So you have to kind of give it like a second before you start actually capturing what you want to capture and talking, because otherwise you'll miss it. I also found the wireless connection between the camera and the handle to be quite slow when you're connecting it. So this is not when you've got it plugged in and they're both connected. This is when you're trying to connect it wirelessly. It takes a little while to connect, and yeah, it was just a little bit slow, I found. The other thing is, when you've got the camera paired to the handle wirelessly, you can't power on the camera with the handle. So if you press the power button to power on the handle, it doesn't also power on the camera, and it also doesn't power it off. So that's just something that I noticed, and it would have been nice if it did, but yeah. And like I said in the beginning, the battery life when you're shooting at 4K 30 is about 40 minutes. I was expecting it to be more. It actually feels quite short. So when you're out and you're filming, you're going to have to bring a power pack with you because you're not going to have a lot of filming time. I also tried to attach an external microphone, so a USB mic. It didn't work, and I got in touch with FeiyuTech, and they also confirmed that you can't attach an external mic, which is a real downside because if you're out and about and you're filming and it's even a windy day, then you're not going to be able to have better audio, and the audio in the camera it sounds quite tinny. It's not the best quality audio. So I feel like that's quite a big flaw with the camera, not being able to attach an external microphone, because it just seems like a feature that is such a standard thing to have in a camera. So it's a little bit disappointing. So the only way to really get around using an external mic with this is to use something like the Zoom F2, I think it is. And it's a little audio recorder. You can plug a lav mic in and then you can record your audio into that and then sync it up with the Pocket 3. The other thing that you can also do if you have it is use the DJI wireless mic system, because you can record directly to a transmitter and then you've got that audio and sync it up with the Pocket 3 afterwards, which is what I'm doing at the moment. The other thing also is that it's not waterproof and it's not weather sealed. So it would have been nice if it was, but it sadly isn't. So that is the Feiyu Pocket 3 Stabilised Camera, and like I said, it has some great things going for it. That modularity I find really, really useful, and I think it's awesome. I just think there are a few things that do let it down. But what do you think? Is this a camera for you? Let me know in the comments below. Like I said, I've dropped a link in the description to where you can find out more about it and check it out on Kickstarter. Early bird prices are on there as well, so it's well worth getting in if you actually do want to buy the camera. So do check it out. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.